talking mess to Karis LeVert the other day, and him and Karis LeVert used to room together at the University of Michigan. So I think his
How
and
you
like I
just
said, I
throw
never
the
like to
University of
question him.
Michigan out there like that's a thing we say on this show.
No, sorry.
Girl,
I'm
please.
I'm just about
Hey,
keeping it real right now. That's where I'm at. New do, keeping it real up here, up in this piece. But yeah, so Franz Wagner is able to get into the Cleveland Cavaliers' head, especially down in the low block. So you're just watching, a clinic where you go where this team Orlando Magic went from everybody predicting them to have no hope and possibly get swept to they're right in this series. And if they can come and steal a game like they were able to the last game of the season against the Cavaliers when they were here, you got a whole new series.
this is where your head coach matters.
Mm.
His number one job is to get them focused on the game and not to let other teams get in their head. They could play. They could play street ball. They could play pickup. You don't need to do plays. You don't need to worry about the lineup. They're grown adult ass men who know how to play the game of basketball. Your job is to be the psychologist to make sure their head is in the game and that there's nobody else living rent free in there. And this is one of the reasons why I struggle with JB. And if they don't make it past this round, we're going to spend an entire hour talking about who the next head coach should be because I'll be done.
And where Donovan Mitchell will be playing next year.
Absolutely.
Don't forget that.
He won't stay here if we get knocked out in the first round.
No.
And why should he? He's chasing a ring. This is a good place for we have enough talent that this should be where he wants to be. But if we can't get past the first round, anyway. Sorry.
Let's talk about Donovan Mitchell though. Brandy, what have you seen out of Donovan Mitchell in this series? Are you seeing the same things that you saw out of the series last year, where he couldn't make a shot? I struggled with this last year because Donovan blamed himself, but he was basically being double teamed the whole game, every game. So I'm like, there's only so much you can do. I don't think really Orlando has been double teaming him that much, if at all, in this series. He's just, unable to make shots and unable to make bunnies. So are you thinking that this kind of was like, this is how he played last year in the playoffs too?
I do think he has played similar. I think, like you said, I think Orlando's defense hasn't been as tough as him as New York was last year on us. I do notice game one, we came out way different than any other game in this series. Game one, you could tell they were confident. They played with urgency. They were ready to go. And I just really haven't seen that in the other three games. But I think the one thing, watching Donovan Mitchell, he needs to get the ball in his hands. He needs to demand the ball as the leader and the best player on this team. And you're not really seeing that. You're not seeing him really want the ball in the third, fourth quarter when the game is on the line and it's time to push the ball. So that's something that I would like to see tomorrow night.
Ladies, where y'all at with that?
Like, first of all, I'm riding with the young woman. Okay, she called it. The question is, doesn't seem to want the ball, and what does that mean, right? Like, to Kate's point, this is where your head coach is the point of differentiation. There's something going on, and we've seen this across the season. I mean, it shouldn't come as a surprise. For me, separate from that, with Spider, I don't think he's 100%, coming off of this injury. I think on his level, think about this, ladies. On his level, the amount, the amount of conditioning, and practice, and that he was out those several weeks near the end of the season. Could he also just be gassed by the time the third, fourth quarter rolls around? I mean, what do you think about that?
I'm hearing something about ribs now. So not only is his knee messed up, but I'm hearing something about some bruised ribs or something like that. And then remember, he had a fractured nose. So I'm not trying to make excuses for him, but this is where we talked about on this show that they should have shut him down for the rest of the season and let him get better and be ready for the playoffs. Or that knee injury is a lot more severe than we thought, and possibly there could be a surgery coming up at the end of the season that we don't know about just yet.
I think that becomes another thing of other players have to step up then. You look at other teams like Josh Hart, the whole playoffs so far, he's been playing amazing for them. So, I don't know. I think looking at the Cavs, the person I would look at for that is maybe Karras coming off the bench. We haven't seen much from him. The other thing I think during a game I've noticed is you see JB Bickerstaff, I feel like, is always quiet. you see Coach Mosley like yelling, talking, communicating with his team the whole game, and I think that's something that the Cavs do need but don't have right now in their coach.
Yeah, you mentioned Karras. Karras ain't ready to be that man. He ain't ready for that. You need somebody that's going to step up. You need somebody that's going to come off that bench. Only person that, I think is ready for that role is George Niang, but, he's not contributing that many points because he is that guy. He does come in there tough with that mentality. But,
And respect,
is it translating to points? And it's really not.
respectfully, I mean this respect. Look at my eyes. I mean, respectfully. Is George is George in playoff shape?
I'll tell y'all a story right quick. And George was talking about this the other day, and he said that there was a lady sitting by court, and she called him. She said the F word, and he was like, she said the F word to me, and everybody was just like, she said that word. He was like, no, she called me fat, so I called her fat back. So I. He's the first one to admit he has a dad bod. So yeah.
This is why I call him pudding pie. And I mean that with love and affection. Okay. I'm just saying these men are running up and down the court defying gravity at this stage of the season, right? If you're not in shape, your points are going to reflect it. Your lack of boards, assists are going to reflect it. We talk about the flow of the game, the pace. When you look at the Orlando Magic, they're like Mexican jumping beans. I'm sorry. I just wonder these things. So back to Spider, we put all this pressure on him, and yes, he gets paid a ton of money. But to Brandy's point, where are your other players stepping up like a Josh Hart to help?
Yeah, and we're going to take a quick break, you guys. Great conversation so far. You've been listening to Her in the Huddle on WOVU 95.9 FM. We're going to be right back. All right, welcome back, ladies. And we were just talking a little bit about the Cleveland Cavaliers. I want to stay on the next couple of minutes, and then we're going to go ahead and move to the NFL draft and talk about Kate's adventures this past weekend in Detroit. But you guys, can the Cleveland Cavaliers pull out this series? I think they can, but like I said earlier, I think before Brandy and Kate got on, I think it is going to take 7 games. And I don't think that they're going to have the ability to win on the road in Orlando, and they're going to come back on Sunday, May 5th, and have to win that series.
I agree. I think it'll be 7 games too. But I think the biggest game probably for them is tomorrow, being able to win at home before they go back to Orlando.
Hey, Mickey. Mickey says, hey, beautiful ladies. Mickey from Seattle.
Do you guys think Sam Merrill should have had more minutes?
Huh?
I said, do you guys think Sam Merrill should have had more minutes?
What I think is Brandy should be the coach of the Cleveland Cavaliers.
There we go.
My issue with Sam Merrill is that when he got a chance to start that game, and I forgot who it was against because he had been hot, and he got a chance to start that game, he missed the side of a barn. He couldn't shoot it no more and couldn't connect on 3 pointers. So I definitely think that there's a few minutes for him, but he's also a defensive liability. He's not that tall. He's slider frame, and you can back him down in the low block area and stuff like that. So I think that you got a couple minutes for him, but not a ton, because I don't think Sam Merrill is going to be one of the reasons why you win or lose a game.
Okay, but then what about the help? Like, is the benefit of him being out there and having a higher probability of success shooting the ball, right, greater than what you're defining as his lack of defensive capabilities? What about his help?
There's no help for anybody. Nobody's helping on defense.
Listen, this is what I'm saying. I mean, listen, we see what we're not getting with Max Strus. We see what we're not getting with Karis LeVert. I'm saying I'm riding with Brandy. Put him out there, because for me, I have no confidence the Cavaliers are going to win this series. And I think I was on record saying that before the first tip off of the first game. So that's how I'm feeling. Kate?
I'm trying to find the stats. I know there's a stat of, I think they call it WAR in baseball. I don't know if they call it the same thing in basketball.
Wins over
What's the plus or
replacement.
minus of points scored when you're on the court versus when you're on the bench?
Wins
Because
above.
I absolutely think he needs to get more minutes if that means someone else gets a break. But I don't know statistically if we lose ground when he's on the floor because his defense is not good, or if he can at least hold us steady while someone gets a breather, we can bring him in. I thought we were going to take this series in 4 games, 5 tops, before it started. But now, look, I thought we learned our lessons from what happened with the Knicks last year, especially what happened after, and the way those Knicks fans are still coming at us. We won the first 2 games and they were still coming at us. Now that we've lost the last 2, I thought that would be more in the players' heads of, we know what we can do. We need to show the world what we can do. And they haven't up until now. They have all people have to do is watch game film of the last 2 games to see exactly what the blueprint is on how to beat them. So I am cautiously optimistic. I would like them to get to the next round. I would like this entire season not to be a waste, but I will be one of those people who says this was not a successful season if I can't get out of the first round.
And one of the things is that the Cavs were supposed to be the experienced team. So 2 years ago, they were in the playoff. They were in the play-in tournament, which they unfortunately, lost and didn't make it to the playoffs. Then last year they make it to the playoffs and they're not able to get out of the first round. The expectation here this year is that they get in the playoffs, they make it out of the first round, they make it to the second round and possibly lose. So a lot of people are saying progress. They're seeing progress, but I don't believe in seeing progress. I believe in winning now. I think that's a loser's mentality. Be like, well, this is progress and stuff like that. So this Cavs team was supposed to be the more experienced between the two and have playoff experience. I don't know how long it's been since Orlando has been to the playoffs, but this Cavs team was supposed to be the team that's coming out on top, and everybody is doubtful. Sapphire, you're talking about, you don't think that they're going to come out of this series, and there's other people talking about that too, after the stinker that they laid in game 4 and 3 in Orlando. So I still think that they're going to come out of this series. I think it's just going to be in 7 games.
I hope you're right.
I mean, we'll be having this conversation about Donovan Mitchell in a couple weeks, and I don't even know if just getting to the second round is enough to keep him. He's got that I need to win now mentality. He's getting older. He's had some injuries this year. He needs to find a place where he thinks they are ready to win. I don't think he's going to stick around for, we had the play-in, and then we lost in the first round, and now we're going to lose in the second round. And then is he going to stay how many more years before we actually get to a final? I think they have got to get a lot farther than the second round if they want to keep him or attract other free agents here.
Hi, Fryo Dan. Appreciate you commenting. Kate, he's gone. Win or lose, Donovan Mitchell is gone.
I don't think so.
Yeah,
I think the argument can be we can make an argument from Cleveland's perspective that he should stay here if we win.
Oh, I absolutely want him to stay, but especially if we lose, he's gone. But, what are you going to do if he does stick around next year? Because you're going to have to get rid of probably Darius Garland, trade him for somebody else, because I don't think he's staying, but you have to be able to build around Donovan, and I don't think they're doing.
Yeah.
See, for me, this is the you okay? This is the part where sports has changed. Because again, in my fantasy world, as the owner, GM, whoever all the people are that make these decisions, I'm saying Cleveland Kate, come on in here. What part of the world, okay, do you want to travel to so we can have this conversation? You are my A player. And I want to make sure we're building a culture around you that you're comfortable with, that you feel like you can thrive in. And I'd like to understand from you what that looks like. That's how much sports, because of the business aspect, has
Yes.
changed, right? So please have that conversation, Cavaliers organization.
Yes. I don't know that they had it with LeBron. I don't know that he would have left the first time if they'd have had it with him. And he is a bigger star on this stage than Donovan is. He's who you have that conversation with. What do you want us to get for you?
Yes,
The
Kate.
checkbook's open. What can we get for you?
Preach.
And they never had that conversation. And that's not what this league is like in any of the sports. Probably basketball and football more than baseball. But that is what you need to do if you've got a franchise quarterback or a star center or whatever you've got, that face of your franchise. You need to do what you need to do to keep them happy. What do you, because it's not
And Dan
always
Gilbert,
open up the checkbook and pay me. For a lot of them, it is. Zeke Elliott's going back to Dallas. That
Yep.
man is a pay me person.
Yep.
He doesn't care about what you're putting around him. He does not care about the hot mess that Jerry has created and all the stuff going on with Dak right now. Zeke getting paid. He's happy.
Yep.
But I think Donovan Mitchell is a player who wants what he wants around him and wants some say in that. And it doesn't have to be official. It can be a conversation over wings at B-dubs when the season is over. But he needs to be a part of that conversation with Kobe Altman and JB or whatever. And that conversation needs to happen. We don't ever have to know about it. But I think that's a conversation that would matter to someone like Donovan. And he's smart enough
Dan Gilbert
that I would
will
get him
open
whatever
his
he wants.
checkbook. Dan Gilbert will open up his checkbook too. He's shown
will.
that, he's proven that. So, he wants to win. He's all about winning. But, what could you put around him that could possibly get you a title? You need other superstars to come here. And, Cleveland isn't known as that superstar destination, as evidenced with LeBron trying to get, help here. And it just didn't work out for him.
I feel like players might be more willing to now. I think in the past couple of years, I mean, a lot of people didn't even think Donovan Mitchell would come here, and it seems like he's, liked the city so far and things like that. So I don't know. Hopefully they're able to stay, but I do wonder if there is a way where Darius and Donovan stay together, or it's gonna have to be where it's one or the other.
Yeah, Donovan got traded here, so he didn't really have that choice. So, but I'm pretty sure he was happy to be traded here as opposed to other places. And I know he, wasn't a Utah fan. There was no diversity there and stuff like that. And that's something that he's mentioned. That he's happy with here. So I don't think he minds the city or anything like that. But I just think as far as organization wise, I was hearing rumblings that him and he's not happy with JB as his coach, but that might not be true. But if they don't win this series, heads are going to roll, and JB is going to be gone. A lot of people have talked about some of the losses this season. Like one of the things is the collapse against the LA Clippers, allowing the Clippers to come back from 26 points down. Just a lot of the collapses that they've had this year. So we know that JB is going to take the blame, and also Kobe Altman is going to take the blame as well. So you're looking at a whole new regime if this doesn't work.
Okay, but it's curious, because in business world they call that a techno-structural redesign. So, JB is just one component of the machine that needs to be scrubbed, right? I'm so sick and tired, just as a sports fan in general, with these teams thinking that, hey, if we just rotate, top tier players into our organization, fans will continue to buy tickets, right? That's what this is really all about, generating revenue, right? But for the fandom, we know, Cleveland Kate, Brandy, and Sister Rachel, that it's about more than that. It's about positioning yourself the best way to win titles. And I have not seen in the last couple of years, honestly, the Cavaliers do that. So I would submit to you, it should not just be the coach's head that gets guillotined, but there's some other people in that organization that, are riding free that need to move on to yonder. Okay.
Mm, I'm going up to yonder.
Hey,
I
hello.
know y'all. I know y'all heard that a couple times. I'm like, I hate hearing that song when I go to funeral. To be with my Lord. All right, y'all, we gotta take a quick break right quick. We'll be right back. You're listening to Her and the Huddle on WOVU 95.9 FM. We'll be right back. FM. You can always listen on your regular radio dial at 95.9 FM, and then you can download the WOVU app so you can listen to us on the go. You can also listen on line at WOVU.org. You can always give us a call at 216-271-0959. But we're going to get into something that is going to make Kate so happy. Kate, how was Detroit in the NFL draft this past weekend?
So I got a couple things. First of all, Detroit showed up, showed out, was amazing. The people I talked to, we went to the Motown Museum. I learned stuff about Motown that I did not know. It is absolutely amazing, and it's $20 for a ticket. It's only a 2-hour and 20-minute drive from here, people. If you have not gone to see the row of houses that Berry Gordy started in one, and as each house down that street came up for sale, there were 8 of them by the time he was done and built his Motown empire. I'm going to throw some non-football stuff at you. That was probably, aside from the draft, the highlight of my trip. Went to see the Rangers play Kansas City Royals Friday afternoon. And of course, Rachel, with my luck, it was National Championship Football Player Day at the ballpark. I had to see the Michigan Wolverines on the field. I had to see them throwing out the first pitch. And they were in the section right next to me. So there's all these people. Like, it's bad enough that I'm in Detroit, Michigan. I got to sit next to Wolverines. But I got through that.
Yeah.
And I went to the draft.
Praise God. You didn't
The
go
biggest problem I had all weekend was the fact that the Wi-Fi for the media did not have a password on it. So the 275,000 people that were downtown were all using free Wi-Fi. Thank you, NFL. So the media couldn't broadcast live Thursday night because we couldn't get a signal. Was ridiculous. I also learned, and I don't know if you've ever wondered why, when you're watching the draft on TV and they say the pick is in, and then it takes forever for Roger Goodell to actually stand up and say it. Part of that is because once the pick comes in, they take that pick to the jersey room, and there is a room filled with jerseys. There are 3 or 4 jerseys per team. They all have the number 1 on them. And then there's this cart filled with file folders alphabetically with players' last names. And there are these big iron press machines. So that as soon as they say the name, they go find it. They put it on the shirt. They press it. They got to hold it down for 3 minutes or whatever it is, and then take the card and the jersey up. I always wondered why there was such a big delay. And that's part of it, especially if it's a surprise pick. And they got to go dig in to find a name in the files that they weren't expecting to need to have on day one, or Lord forbid, they have to actually make one up. So that was very cool. I thought there'd be more movement in the early part of the draft. I knew we'd have quarterbacks going top 3, but I honestly thought, so Caleb Williams to the Bears was a no-brainer. I think Jaden Daniels going second was a no-brainer. Drake May at 3 surprised me just because I thought the Patriots might entertain trade offers to move out of that position. Once they took him, I knew the Cardinals were going to grab onto Marvin Harrison Jr. And let's face it, ladies, this is a last call on Kyler Murray in his career.
Oh, yeah.
If you're going to make excuses for your numbers and say you don't have any weapons, and they just drafted you, the single best wide receiver in a generation, there will be no excuses next year. I firmly believe Kyler Murray will be out of a job at the end of this year because I just don't think he's that talented, and it's not going to be Marvin's fault. Talk to Marvin afterwards. He is such a cool cat. Love me some Marvin. And then I think the biggest puzzle for everyone is going to be the Falcons taking Michael Penix Jr. at 8. Not because I don't like the pick of Michael Penix Jr. Liked him. I would have taken him over Drake May, but that's just me. He is not the stereotypical quarterback that you see in New England, which is why, you know what I'm saying, why Drake May went to New England. Ain't none of us surprised, unless he'd gone to San Francisco. Those are the two places where they go, right? Y'all know what I'm saying.
I do, but I don't know that our listeners know.
The surprise was not that long ago, the Cardinals guaranteed Kirk Cousins $100 million to be their quarterback. How are you going to draft a quarterback at 8? I don't like any of these stories coming out of Dan Snyder or out of that group down in Atlanta trying to say that, well, you know, when you have a chance to get your guy and he can sit for a couple years, you know, and you think he's your future, you go and get him. That's fine. But you just fired your head coach and had to do all of this organizational changing because your team hadn't won since the year you got blown out in the second half to the New England Patriots in the Super Bowl and gave up that huge lead. You need to win games, and your defense is abysmal. You could have had Dallas Turner. You could have had a ton of people at 8, and you went for a quarterback that theoretically is going to sit for a couple years while you're paying Kirk Cousins $100 million. It doesn't make any sense. Atlanta fan doesn't understand it. It's a mess. I was thrilled to see so in the first 10 picks, for the first time in NFL draft history, we had quarterback wide receiver combos from the same colleges go in the top 10 from 2 of them. You had Caleb Williams and Malik Neighbors, and Leak is a very cool cat as well. And then you had Michael Penix Jr. and Rome Odunze go. Those are guys that are going to be in the league for a long time. It'll be interesting to see what kind of chemistry Caleb and Rome have since they played against each other a little bit in college. Now they're both going to be Bears. The Bears did a very nice job. Pittsburgh and Baltimore and the Bengals, from a divisional standpoint, added positions of need, but nobody that really knocked my socks off. Nobody that's like, oh my God, I can't believe he got them. We're going to be in so much trouble. That's what I thought when the Bengals got Jamar Chase a couple years ago. I knew we were going to be hearing from him a lot. They filled positions of need, and that was fine. I cannot tell you how loud I screamed in the media room when the Browns, in the second round at 54, drafted Streetsboro, Ohio's own Michael Hall Jr. from the Ohio State University to play for us, because not only is he a great player, it's such a good story. He's a hometown kid. He's the first player to go to Streetsboro to get drafted. I found a picture on Facebook of him when he was in high school on the day that he committed to Ohio State. And he's just got this little baby face. I just want to pinch his cheek. So I threw it up on Twitter. I'm like, he was so young when he said he was going to be a Buckeye. And now he's going to be a Brown. 30 picks later, they drafted somebody named Zach Zinter or something.
I'm very excited about Zach. Sorry.
And I'm excited about him as a player. And I don't care really that he went to Michigan because we took a Buckeye first, which appeases my homerness. Mm-hmm. But I think he was a very good option for us. When I look at all of those guys coming out of Michigan that were available in the draft this year, he's one that I had my eye on because he definitely is a player and he fills a position of need for us.
Absolutely.
So, I mean, overall, I think the Ravens or the Falcons pick at 8 was really the only mind-blowing surprise in the first round. A lot of the trades that I thought would happen didn't, and then the Bills just kept moving down until they finally moved out. The Seahawks actually took a player in the first round for like the first time in 5 years. They're famous for trading out of the first round. Mm-hmm. So those were really the things that, that I noticed or that surprised me. Darius Robinson, there were only 13 guys at the draft that went, and they all went in the first round. Tyrion Arnold, who the Detroit Lions took, has just got a whole lot of personality. He's got a song out on YouTube. He has got all kinds of irons in the fire along with football. He's got a song out there. You can find it called We Finally Made It, which is actually pretty good. Darius Robinson is working on his master's degree in education, was one of the most intelligent people I heard speak. Someone even asked him, if you hadn't been drafted, what would you be doing? And he's like, teaching, but I'm already teaching, I'm coaching, I've got all these other things going on. Very well spoken, very much enjoying the moment. Some of the guys, I think Malik Neighbors was still a little nervous. Some of the other ones that we talked to were still a little nervous about the stage and talking to the media and stuff. Darius Robinson was calm, cool, collected, fun to talk to, and just seemed like a good dude. One of those dudes that I'm going to kind of keep an eye on and root for as we go forward with the NFL season. Rachel, you asked me to talk, and I talked for like way too many minutes because that's what happens when you tell me to talk. So I'm going to take a breath and see if y'all have any.
I was about to say, I'm going to give you an opportunity to take a breath because we're going to go ahead and take our last break. So we're going to be right back, and we're going to talk about how the draft picks that we picked up for the Cleveland Browns, and then we're going to talk a little Guardians baseball if we have some time. So we're going to be right back. You're listening to Her in the Huddle on WOBU 95.9 FM. We'll be right back.
Hey, everybody, listen up because we have a huge public service announcement for
Honestly, I really wasn't surprised with the Penix draft.
Really?
Not at all. I thought it was a good move too.
They gave $100 million to Kirk Beige Cousins.
That's another indication of how much vig these organizations, generate. That's nothing to them, right? They are
Clearly,
hedging.
they sent that message that they got more money than they know what to do with, and that they can spend $100 million and then still draft a quarterback who should compete in training camp. I think Michael Penix Jr. could start somewhere this year.
But they're hedging. They're hedging their bets. I'm telling you, they're hedging.
They don't think he's going to stay healthy. I think
exactly.
I think,
and they're trying to sell tickets.
They don't think he's going to stay healthy.
And he's a great fit for that market, as you well know, Miss In Between the Lines.
I am. And if Mickey says one more thing about the Browns still sucking this year, we're going to ban him from the chat room.
You got new tats? Am I looking at new tats on your arms, Kate?
I think this one's new.
Jeezo Pizzo.
It's my dragonfly. So the hard part about this one was getting it symmetrical with this one. The top and the bottom are the same. So this is my hawk for my protective nature over my children and my family and my friends. And then this is my dragonfly, which is about change and all kinds of things that I'm going through in my life.
Girl, you are wearing the cost of a round trip somewhere to Mexico resort on your arms. Oh my God.
My husband actually said yesterday, have you ever added up how much you've spent on your ink in the last 3 years? And I said, no.
It's gotta be thousands.
No.
Yeah.
I'm afraid.
God bless you. That's great.
I don't know.
I mean, do what you like. I'm 100. Support. You like it. I love it.
Yeah. I have my Buckeyes one now. Have I showed you that one?
Oh, hey, ladies. Sorry, I had y'all on mute. So.
Oh, Lord. Wait, Kate. Hold on. Okay. Yes. Okay. And the Cavaliers. All right. Are we on? Do people see?
Sorry.
That's okay.
It's a girls' conversation, y'all. Girls' conversation.
So I gotta say, when we talk about the draft picks, I assume we're going to talk about Michael Jr.
now. But I just want to say, thank you to Joyce. Huh? I want to thank Joyce right quick though, because Joyce is always listening.
Yeah, can you hear me? Yes.
Yeah, thank you, Joyce. We appreciate you. She always compliments us. She always has, support us, and she says that she's been listening for weeks, but just got in the room, and she said you all are so good. Mickey says that's all good, Kate, but the Browns will still suck. And he said, "No, Mickey, he likes your tattoos." So that's about it. So I want to get your thoughts on everybody's thoughts. And Kate, I'll take you last. Hopefully, you had a chance to get some antihistamine or something like that. Take a breath. But want to get you guys' thoughts on overall the Browns fill some positions of need. Brandy, what's your thoughts about overall about the draft that Cleveland had?
I think they did good. I think addressing some things that we need. Like Kate said, happy about Mike Hall, Buckeye, somebody that's from the city. And, we saw him play at Ohio State. He was able to, get at quarterbacks, which I think is something that we talked about on a previous show that we wanted to add along with Zadarius and Miles. So I think he'll fit in great with them and in Schwartz's defense. And he's going to have great mentors. So I think he's going to do really good here.
Yeah. How do you feel about the Michigan man being drafted? Any thoughts about that, or you okay with that?
I think that's a good pick, even though that's, he came from that school, but it's okay. So did Grant Delpit.
Yeah. Sapphire, your thoughts about the draft?
For me, it was all about getting a guard because we know we have issues. So I'm very happy. I wouldn't care if that man came from the planet Saturn. I'm so happy that they drafted for a position they have a need for. So I'm ecstatic about him, and I just pray to God he stays healthy.
Yeah, and Kate, we got a chance to talk with Zach Zinner at the combine this year as well. Got a chance to ask him a couple of questions and stuff like that. And, he was pretty cool. Nobody really wants to talk to linemen, but, he gave us, a couple minutes and stuff like that, able to get some questions in. So he seemed okay. But I think that the Browns, drafted for obviously areas of need. They say that, this regime drafts the best players available. And I think they did that. Obviously they didn't have a pick, until the second round. So I think that they solidified what they needed to with all their picks. And I like that, they picked Buckeyes. Because remember, the Browns wouldn't touch, Buckeyes for whatever reason. And, these Buckeyes will get drafted, in the AFC North and wreak havoc on them on Sunday. So, it's nice that they're going in their own backyard and, getting some Buckeyes, something that they previously hadn't done in a long time. So I'm super excited about that. But, obviously when it comes to draft picks, you're not going to know what you got for the next 3 or 4 years down the line. So it's going to take a little bit before you know what you got. So, I think that the Browns, draft well, wide receiver, that's always the issue when they're drafting, third or fourth, for wide receiver. But I think that they'll be okay. I'm looking forward for this team to make the playoffs again, and I think that they're going to be okay. So I think it was a great draft, and I'm okay with it. So I think it was pretty good. So I'm with it. What would your draft grades be, ladies? Around the horn.
Well, I'm going to go first. I'm going to give him an A. Pound for pound, you got Mike Hall Jr. at 290 pounds. You got Zach Zinter. We're going to call him ZZ Top from now on. He was 309 pounds. I loved the pick of Jamari Thrash. I think he was an underrated wide receiver. I watched him at the combine. I touched him at the combine. Frankly, he has one of the best names. I'm going to be getting me a Thrash jersey just because I think that's hilarious. But he's got mad skills. He played for Louisville, so he didn't get as much,
fanfare.
He didn't get as much talked about as some of these receivers from other schools, but he is very good, has very nice hands. And we talked to him at the combine. We talked to all of these guys at the combine this year. Zinter is just, I'm with you, Sapphire. I love that we were able to get him when we did. I think when you're dealing with a guard who's got hands that are, I think his hands are like 9 3/4 inches, and then Mike Hall's are 10. Like I can't even hands, and we watched enough of them play last year to know that they're athletic at 300 pounds. They can move. We are going to get after the quarterback, to your point, and we are going to protect our quarterback. Zach Zinner is one of those guys that can move from guard to tackle. He's done it. And so I imagine he will be moving around the line in preseason while we're trying to figure out where they want to get him started at. So I was real happy with those picks. They were a lot of names they're names after the second round that people didn't know. but we knew from the combine, right? That we know from watching some of these schools play. And I just think I'm hoping that Jamari Thrash turns out to play as well as I think he will, because then we'll have Amari and Jamari.
That's cute. They're not twins.
Somebody's got good marketing ideas. If they're not going to listen to me about who to bench and who to draft and who to start and sit and all that stuff, then they might as well listen to my marketing ideas.
With the guy that ran the 4.2 at the combine, where did he go?
Xavier Worthy.
Okay, yeah, where does Xavier Worthy go?
Yeah, he got drafted. And you know, I struggle with him. He was a very nice young man, but he was very scrawny. I'm sorry. He's
Kansas City drafted.
19 years old. He's 160 pounds, dripping wet. We all know he needs to put on weight before he gets to the NFL. He is going to get what my friend Dana calls Cam Chancellor. The first time he gets hit by a DB, he's going to break in half. Now, he went to Kansas City, so I think that's probably one of the best places for him, because that's a smarter than average coaching staff. And so what they're going to do, my bold prediction, is they're going to give him reps as a decoy. They're going to send him long and see if they can get two DBs or a safety or whatever to go after him to free somebody else up. So that way he's not getting contact. He's a decoy, because everyone knows he's got speed. So they're going to be following him and going after him. And then at some point, they're going to actually have to throw to him to make that decoy work. They're going to have to ease him into the NFL. For us, and I try to explain this to people, I tell them, and we live, you go back and look at LeBron the year he was drafted, what his size was, and what he looked like 3-4 years later. Yeah, he had the frame that you could tell at 17 that he had the ability to put weight on that frame and be the man he became. I don't know that Xavier Worthy can put on that much weight. Could probably go 180, 185, but I don't know that he can do much for that. And that's going to knock off his speed. Brian Thomas Jr., I thought, is a far better receiver, and he was 0.2 seconds off of Xavier, and he's already a $180. And so I was super excited when he got drafted, and I was like, that's someone who's ready to go. Jamari Thrash, who we got to $185. Like, these are guys who are a year older and have already gotten closer to physical maturity, but they've also got frames with those wingspans and those hands to put that weight on. Xavier Worthy has an amazing smile, and he was a pleasure to talk to. Not all of them are. I know it sounds like I say that about everybody, but we're only talking about a handful of people. The list of people that we talked to that were not very pleasant or were very uncomfortable is a very long list. And I don't like to name names, so I'm going to let that go. But Xavier Worthy was just super excited to get drafted and super happy to be there. And I think Kansas City is the right place to bring him along in a way that will be good for him. There are other teams, the Panthers, even the Browns at times. We've complained about you're trying to take this round peg and put it in a square hole. Instead of designing plays to make DTR successful, you tried to get DTR to run Deshaun's plays when he was hurt. You need to design plays for these young guys to have some success early. 3-4 yards is still a positive play, and it helps them build mental confidence. I think we were all chipping in to get a psychologist for DTR after his first.
Did he finish therapy?
I think he's all done with the therapy, and he's in a good place. There's some visualization work that he's still doing, and there's some music he listens to before bed at night to help him with that. But not every team and not every coaching staff is good at that. And so for Xavier Worthy, I think he landed in a place where they will bring him along and develop him in a good way.
Okay, good. So we got 5 minutes left, Kate. So we got to go back to Guardians. That's okay. I know you got a lot of information, and we got more Mondays for that as we go on.
Other girls didn't give their grades, and it's a long baseball season. I want to hear their grades on the draft.
ABC. Oh yeah, really quickly, great. And then Guardians, really quickly. I'm gonna go B+ for the Browns.
Me too.
And I would third that.
And Kate's going with A, so I
gave him an A-. Just it would have been nice if they'd have tried to move and do something, but I was happy with what they got, where they were.
So they're above average pretty much, so that's good.
Yeah.
So Cleveland Guardians, second best record in baseball right now. They went down to Truist Field Park, I believe, and unfortunately they lost They lost 2 out of 3 to the Braves, but they were right in there. I don't believe in moral victories, but everybody says that the Braves could be going to the World Series, and they went both their losses. Well, one of their losses was in overtime, and one of their victories was in overtime. So pretty much, they shouldn't have lost yesterday, but I forgot what pitcher allowed them to score those runs.
Class A gave
Um,
up a hit, and the
oh,
guy on
okay,
second got home. But that's because they ran themselves out of that inning.
okay,
Two,
yeah,
you don't try to steal third in overtime, in extra innings. You just don't. You already got a guy. You don't try to steal third, especially when Jose Ramirez is at the plate. Like, he's going to get you over where you need to go. They ran themselves out of that inning.
yeah.
I was
So
so
two
aggravated.
base running errors and extras or whatever cost them as well too. Stephen Kwan got caught up, and then Jose Ramirez
Yep.
got called out too. So that doesn't help. But I'm liking what I'm seeing. Stephen Vogt says that he wants this team to continue to be aggressive when it comes to base running, because this team isn't a team that's going to hit for a ton of power. So you have to get creative about how you're scoring. Brandy, what are your thoughts really quickly about this Guardians
Yeah, I
team
think
so
nobody really
far?
expected them to start off the season this well at all. So, I'm happy. I'm hoping they're going to be able to continue it throughout the season. But, I think having a new manager, they're doing pretty good. I think the aggressiveness I like. I think he'll just have to find, a happy medium as the season goes on and really learn to when to be aggressive and how to be aggressive with it. But I like it because we really haven't seen that in the past few years with them being aggressive like that.
All right, Sapphire, 20 seconds.
Okay, three quick things.
Talk about the
Okay.
Guardians.
The Guardians will go as Joshua Naylor does. He needs to cut 30 pounds, and the New York Yankees are going to go undefeated for the rest of the season.
Oh God. Okay. Anyway, Cleveland Kate. So you just gave your spin about the Guardians. I'm
No,
thinking
I
the
agree with
Guardians will
Brandy.
win the
This
division.
fast start they've gotten off to and this aggression is awesome. We haven't seen April usually sucks. They are playing so well for April. I know you can't win the pennant in April, but you can lose it. And so far, they're doing well.
All right, ladies, that was a great show. We got to get out of here. Thank you so much for joining me today. You've been listening to Her in the Huddle on WOVU 95.9 FM, and we are out of here.
We need 2 hours. We need 2 hours.
How about that?
Are we still live?
I was going to ask the same thing. Are we still on, Rachel?
Oh.
She can't hear us.
I don't know.
I missed you guys. I missed you guys. What's up? Where you been? What's
I
happening?
know. I want to chit chat, but I don't want to do it live and scare people with our chit chat. It says we're still live, Rachel.
Is it? Does she even hear us,
Can
Rachel?
y'all hear me?
Yes. Can you hear me?
It says we're still live. All the people watching are like, what are they doing? How come they can't figure out why they're still live?
Can y'all hear me?
Yes.
Okay. Great show today. Thank you so much for being here. Sorry, like Kate said, we need to have 2 hours, but
We're still live.
Can you hear me now? Can y'all hear me?
Yeah, but it says live in
It
the
says
upper
we're
left
still
corner.
live.
Did you end the show or?
Hello?
Hello.
Can y'all hear me?
Yes.
Can y'all hear me now?
Yes.
Oh, okay. Hopefully we're not on air, but I just want to say great show. I thank y'all
It
so
says
much.
we're
for
still
joining me.
live.
Oh, no, we didn't. I ended the stream. Oh, no, I ended the stream.